Chapter 1. On the 48th floor of a glistening tower on the southern tip of Manhattan, Mitch McDear stood alone in his office and gazed out the window at Battery Park and the busy waters beyond. Boats of all shapes and sizes crisscrossed the harbor. Massive cargo ships laden with containers waited almost motionless. The Staten Island ferry inched past Ellis Island. A cruise ship packed with tourists headed out to sea. A mega yacht was making a splendid entrance into the city. A brave soul on a 15-foot catamaran zigzagged about, dodging everything. 1,000 feet above the water, no fewer than 5 helicopters buzzed about like angry hornets. In the far distance, trucks on the Verrazano Bridge stood still, bumper to bumper. Lady Liberty watched it all from her majestic perch. It was a spectacular view that Mitch tried to appreciate at least once each day. Occasionally he succeeded, but most days were too hectic to allow time for such loafing. He was on the clock. His life was ruled by it, just like the hundreds of other lawyers in the building. Scully & Pershing had over 2,000 scattered around the world, and vainly considered itself to be the premier international firm on the planet. Its New York partners, and Mitch was one, rewarded themselves with larger offices in the heart of the financial district. The firm was now 100 years old, and reeked of prestige, power, and money. He glanced at his watch, and the sightseeing came to an end. A pair of associates knocked and entered for another meeting. They met around a small table as a secretary offered coffee. They declined, and she left. Their client was a Finnish shipping company having problems in South Africa. The authorities there had embargoed a freighter packed with electronics from Taiwan. Empty, the ship was worth about $100 million. Fully loaded, it was worth twice that, and the South Africans were upset over some tariff issues. Mitch had been to Cape Town twice in the past year and was not keen to return. After half an hour, he dismissed the associates with a list of instructions and welcomed another pair. At 5 p.m. sharp, he checked in with his secretary, who was leaving, and walked past the elevators to the stairs. For short rides up and down, he avoided the elevators to escape the mindless chit-chat of lawyers he knew and didn't know. He had many friends in the firm, and only a handful of known enemies, and there was always a new wave of fresh associates and eager junior partners with faces and names he was supposed to recognize. Often he did not, nor did he have time to pore over the firm directory and try to memorize them. So many would be gone before he knew their names. Taking the stairs worked his legs and lungs, and always reminded him that he was no longer in college, no longer playing football and intramural basketball and able to do so for hours. He was 41, and still in decent shape because he watched his diet and skipped lunch at least 3 times a week while he worked out in the firm's gym. Another perk for partners only. He left the stairwell on the 42nd floor and hustled to the office of Willie Backstrom, another partner, but one with the luxury of not billing by the hour. Willie had the enviable position of running the firm's pro bono programs, and though he kept up with his hours, he did not send bills. There was no one to pay them. The lawyers at Scully made plenty of money, especially the partners, and the firm was notorious for its commitment to pro bono work. It volunteered for difficult cases around the world. Every lawyer was required to donate at least 10% of his or her time to various causes, all approved by Willie. There was an even split down the middle of the firm on the issue of pro bono work. Half the lawyers enjoyed it because it was a welcome break from the stressful grind of representing high-pressure corporate clients. For a few hours a month, a lawyer could represent a real person or a struggling nonprofit and not worry about sending bills and getting paid. The other half paid lip service to the lofty notion of giving back, but considered it wasteful. Those 250 hours a year could be better spent making money and improving one's standing with the various committees that determined who got promoted, who made partner, and who eventually got the boot. Willie Backstrom kept the peace, which wasn't really that difficult, because no lawyer, regardless of his or her ambition, would ever criticize the firm's aggressive pro bono programs. Scully even gave annual awards to its lawyers who went beyond the call of duty in service to the less fortunate. Mitch was currently spending 4 hours a week working with a homeless shelter in the Bronx and representing clients who were fighting evictions.